Hello and welcome. It is 12 noon. It is the 22nd day of December, the 22nd day of Vlogmas. I'm not wearing the hat because it's strangely hot and my allergies are bothering me. And I'm drinking tea because I'm classy. So, more Marvel MCU news. So this isn't really news, but one of the many panels that they had during the thingy, the Marvel Disney Investors Convention thing, was, of course, on the MCU, on the interconnected story that they told, the Infinity War, and Endgame. Because ever since Endgame hit the screen, there has been a slew of questions addressing Endgame. And the writers and directors and producers and people associated with Endgame have felt the need to repeatedly explain things. And even at this meeting, once again, they came forward, Kevin Feige, the Rufflos, whoever else, and attempted to explain all the questions people have about Infinity War and Endgame, mostly involving, old Cap, and the multiple timelines and the time travel and the time travel theory and the paradoxes and at this point, do they have to explain it? I mean, isn't part of the fun not knowing and us just sort of coming up with our own spins on what happened and them just going maybe? But by explaining again, old Cap, the multiple timelines, the paradoxes, the time travel issues, that they were there, they sort of take the mystery away, don't you think? I mean, is it more interesting to know exactly the answer to the mystery of old Cap? Or is it more interesting to not know and just sort of leave it hanging out there for each individual to talk about it for years? Because, some of the best movie, TV, conversations, ongoing theories, whatever, are the ones that are based upon things that were never answered. And I mean, I'm not talking what if Batman and Robin were gay kind of shit, or, fix or whatever, but I'm talking well, we never got an answer to this. So from X show, who was the guy at the end of Quantum Leap? Was it God? What happened to the Gilligan's Island? And by leaving those unanswered, we just sort of speculate what happened. What happened in the 5-year gap? We don't know, so we can speculate. What happened after so-and-so did so-and-so, and then the movie series was never finished? We don't know, so we can speculate. But by answering the questions, it sort of ruins the mysteries. Okay, so now we know about Cap and the timelines released according to you, which and you've changed that too a couple times. So, now the mystery is sort of ruined and blah. So, whatever. And, if old Cap is still active in MCU, post end of Endgame, are we going to see him? Because, even 75, 80-year-old Steve Rogers can still, go toe-to-toe with some of the best. I mean, the super soldier formula should keep him still, active. So are we going to see old Cap? Because he's not dead. He's just old. So they answered some questions. By answering some questions, they left some more things. Apparently, a lot of people are saying, well, your answer doesn't really fit your time travel paradox theories that you put forward in Infinity War and Endgame. So you're basically contradicting yourself by trying to answer these. When you set the rules, you broke the rules, and now you're trying to explain the mysteries at the end of Endgame. Do they have to? Do they have to? Isn't it more fun just for us to speculate? All right, so obviously the big ones that came out of the end of Endgame, well, the stupid one is when, Hulk snapped everybody back, things weren't in the same place, so what happened? And obviously that's no, because when he snapped everybody back, he also made sure that they were safe. So if you were in an airplane, when you got blipped out, Well, that airplane is in the same place. What the fuck is that? Is that a ghost? That airplane is in the same place 5 years later. So, if you appear, do you just appear in the midair? No, because Hulk wished, that everybody would be safe. Because let's face it, the Infinity Stone snap is a wish. The second big one is, what was Cap doing from point A when he went back and hooked up with Peggy to point B when he gave the shield away? And of course, people are like, well, was it a different timeline? What happened? Then that's fine. If it was a different timeline, he left timeline A when he hooked up with Peggy, as we saw that how they explained the multi-branching timelines. And then he re-entered the main timeline when he gave the shield to Sam. But other people have said, no, was he in the same timeline as original Cap? And if so, why didn't he do anything to affect the timeline? So, so apparently they have explained that away. Of course, they've contradicted themselves, because first it was a separate timeline. Then it was, no, he was in the same timeline. He just chose not to. He worked in the shadows and chose not to directly interfere with things because other Cap was there, and he didn't want to affect the outcome of the timeline because he knew what would happen. Okay, the old Cap thing was never the problem for me. The problem for me was the Thanos thing. Okay, so Thor kills Thanos, 2-3 days after the snap. 5 years passed. We go through the time heist. Thanos' past comes to the present. They have the fight. Tony snaps Thanos and the Chitauri out of existence. But because, according to their rules of time travel, because Thanos came forward to our timeline, and it was the primary Thanos. There's no secondary alternate timeline Thanos. This was the Thanos who snapped in Wakanda, came forward. Thanos never snapped. It never happened. They changed the timeline, which means Infinity War never happened because he was never there in Wakanda to snap his fingers. So that's the big loop. And they're still like, well, quantum paradox, obviously it has to happen because the time heist had to happen and the blip had to happen. So Thanos is inevitable. No matter what you do, Thanos will always snap. So even if you remove him from the timeline, which they did, the snap still happens. Except, of course, that goes against their very time travel theory. If there's two Caps in the same place, which, even though we know two objects can occupy the same space at the same time, but there's only one Thanos, and Thanos leaves the timeline, re-enters the timeline, which means the events after Thanos leaving the timeline never happened, because there wasn't a second Thanos like there was a second Cap. Mind blown! Time travel! I think at the end of the day, instead of constantly trying to explain time travel and explain the paradoxes, just use the Doctor Who / Back to the Future answer. Just you know what? It doesn't matter. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. The universe fixes itself. It's a big ball of physicky, timey wimey, wibbly wobbly. It doesn't really matter. Just enjoy the movies and have fun. Okay? We did it. We told a story. Sure, there are some problems with it, but big deal. Nobody's ever done what we did. I don't even think we can top ourselves, but we're going to try. Let's move forward. And from what we know, moving forward, it looks like the next phase is going to have two major storylines. Storyline one will be a lot of the street level stuff. Hawkeye, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man. Yes, Spider-Man still counts as a street level hero. Moon Knight, if that comes through. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Black Panther 2, even though Chadwick's dead. That's, mainly just real world, street level type superheroics. Captain America level stuff, Then we're going to have the more crazy, Marvel cosmic stuff, because Marvel, has a history of crazy cosmic crap. Galactus, the Silver Surfer, the Eternals, the Inhumans, the Deviants. So one half, we've got all these, Black Widow, stuff like that. That's like the street level stuff, and hopefully that'll be some of the stuff that fills in the 5-year gap. And then the other end, we've got, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We've got the introduction of the Spider-Verse. We've got Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy in space. We've got WandaVision and all the wacky shenanigans that's going to come out of that. We've got Secret Invasion to still deal with, because we know they're doing a Secret Invasion show with Samuel L. Jackson. And really, just Samuel L. Jackson on my TV every week. Take my money. So, obviously, the Secret Invasion is, going to play some major part, because it involves Captain Marvel, that involves spacey stuff, that involves the Kree Skrull War, which would involve the Guardians of the Galaxy, which will also involve Thor, because now he's doing intergalactic stuff, which might introduce, the Supreme Intelligence and the Living Tribunal, and maybe, hopefully, Galactus, and hopefully this, somehow this all leads to the Fantastic Four. And plus, we have Kang the Conqueror, who is, is he a Thanos level villain? He's definitely a major badass, but he's, so who knows? I mean, who knows what the end, game for the next 10 years is going to be? Is it going to be Kang the Conqueror? Is it going to be Galactus? Is it going to be somebody we haven't seen yet? Is it going to be Mephisto? Is it going to be Dormammu? We don't know, but we can expect that it's going to start small, start street level. Iron Man fought another guy in armor. Captain America fights terrorists. Spider-Man fights criminals, and then it slowly leads to the weirder space stuff with Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and then it ends with Endgame. We kind of can expect it to follow the same formula, just a little wackier on the Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, WandaVision side. We're definitely going to, we know that there, the introduction at the end of Endgame is there's more weird shit out there. And now we're obviously part of the story is going to explore the weird shit, but the major story, because Marvel's main still thing is its heart and soul is we're people that happen to have the ability to do this shit. But at the end of the day, living, breathing people who have to deal with living, breathing, normal world crap. And as we got galactic crappity stuff over here, but we also got to deal with, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye level shit. So I think that's what's going to happen. But anyways, so yeah, that was the last bit of news out of Disney, is that they tried to tie up all the loose ends from Endgame and just leaves more loose ends and more speculation. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's time travel. It never makes sense. It's never going to make sense. Just wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Don't worry about it. I'll talk to you later.